American Pickers Mike Wolf reveals Frank Fritz dead at 58. Sad news today for American Pickers fans as Mike Wolf, just shared Frank Fritz, passed away at the tender age of 58. He was a few days shy of his 59th birthday, born October 11, 1965. Though he had been struggling with his health since 2022, no one could have anticipated this. So when did it all happen, and what did Mike have to say? Keep reading for all of the details. Mike Wolf reveals Frank Fritz dead at 58. It is a very hard day today for all who knew, loved, and watched Frank Fritz's journey on American Pickers. Alongside Mike Wolf, the two traveled the country to find rare items for their collections. They also would resell them or see what goods they could pick up for clients, and it was always an adventure. Unfortunately, in 2020, after 10 years with the series, Frank departed to undergo surgery. After it was over, he did not come back, plus there was some tension between himself and Mike. Things were never the same on the show, and fans felt it no matter how hard production and Mike Wolf tried. Then in 2022, Frank had a stroke, and no one knew what the outcome would be. His life turned upside down, and Frank was fighting to find some semblance of normalcy. Sadly, his fight ended too soon, and Mike Wolf took to Instagram to share Frank had passed at 58. He honored him with a beautiful tribute about their life and time together. Mike then tied it together with this: Frank Fritz left this world on Monday, September 30th, and very clearly left a brilliant legacy. Oh no, I am so sorry to hear this. My deepest condolences. Sorry for your loss, Mike. It is a loss for all. We share the sadness and the memories. The tributes are pouring in over on Twitter/X. American Pickers fans are paying tribute to the life of Frank Fritz. They cannot believe that he is gone and are absolutely heartbroken over this. Undoubtedly, this will take some time to really set in, but that goes to show how beloved Frank was and always will be. One fan noted he is likely already bundling up in heaven. May he rest in peace, and may his memory be a blessing. Mike Wolf, star of American Pickers, took to social media to share the heartbreaking news with fans. His former co-host and longtime friend, Frank Fritz, had passed away at the age of 58. The announcement, though expected by some, still sent shockwaves through the show's dedicated fan base and left a void that could never be filled. Mike's message was short, but filled with raw emotion as he penned a heartfelt tribute to his old friend. Today is a day I never thought I'd have to face, and my heart is shattered. Frank, you were my brother. You were a man who loved the simple things in life: family, friends, and the joy of finding hidden treasures. Rest in peace, my friend. For years, American Pickers had captured the hearts of viewers, thanks to the chemistry between Mike and Frank. Together, they scoured the backroads of America, uncovering forgotten relics from the past, and in the process, bringing history to life. The two men shared a unique bond, one that was born out of their shared love for all things vintage. From rusted-out bicycles to antique gas pumps, they found joy in the hunt, and that joy translated effortlessly onto the screen. But their relationship, much like some of the treasures they unearthed, had its share of wear and tear over the years. A storied friendship. Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz had known each other long before American Pickers became a reality. They grew up in the same small Iowa town and bonded over their mutual love of collecting. While most kids their age were interested in sports or hanging out at the local mall, Mike and Frank spent their time searching for hidden gems at yard sales, flea markets, and junkyards. They were drawn to the stories that these old objects held, believing that even the most worn-down relic had a past worth preserving. Their friendship evolved naturally into a business partnership, and in 2010, the History Channel picked up American Pickers, turning the two friends into household names. Week after week, viewers tuned in not just for the unique finds, but for the banter between Mike and Frank. Their on-screen dynamic was a blend of brotherly camaraderie and the occasional squabble, with Frank often playing the more lighthearted and mischievous counterpart to Mike's more focused, business-minded persona. Health struggles and a sudden departure. In recent years, however, Frank had become noticeably absent from the show. In 2020, it was announced that Frank had stepped away from American Pickers due to health issues, and rumors of a falling out between the two friends began to circulate. Frank had openly struggled with addiction, and after suffering a debilitating stroke in 2021, his health took a turn for the worse. Fans speculated about the true nature of his absence, and some were hopeful that Frank would eventually make his way back to the show. Frank's sudden departure was never fully explained, leaving many to wonder what had truly happened between him and Mike. In interviews, Frank expressed a sense of betrayal, revealing that he had hoped to return to the show after his recovery. Meanwhile, Mike continued to host American Pickers solo, but the dynamic was never quite the same. The empty space left by Frank's absence was palpable, both on screen and in the hearts of longtime fans. A public and private rift. The rift between Mike and Frank became a public topic of conversation, with both men addressing the situation in separate interviews. Frank, in particular, voiced his frustration, feeling like he had been left behind during a time when he needed support the most. "I didn't leave the show. I finished shooting, and then I had a little back surgery, and the pandemic came," Frank explained in an interview in 2021. "I'd like to come back to the show, but we'll see. We're on good terms, but we could always be better." Mike, on the other hand, maintained a more private stance on the issue. While he expressed his hopes for Frank's recovery, he kept the specifics of their relationship close to the chest. Some speculated that the growing tension between the two had less to do with the show itself and more with the personal struggles Frank had been going through. Despite the tension, Mike's announcement of Frank's death was filled with grace and sorrow. It became clear that, whatever their differences, Mike still held a deep respect for his former co-host and friend. Fans mourn the loss. For fans of American Pickers, Frank's death marks the end of an era. Social media flooded with tributes from viewers who had followed the show for over a decade, sharing their favorite memories of Frank's antics, his sharp wit, and his unmistakable eye for rare finds. Many recalled how Frank's easygoing nature and sense of humor had been a perfect balance to Mike's more serious approach to the business of picking. "Frank always brought a smile to my face. He was the reason I watched," one fan wrote. Frank's passing also reignited calls for Mike to bring back some of the earlier episodes of American Pickers, where Frank's presence was at its strongest. The idea of watching Frank and Mike share their love for vintage items once more became a source of comfort for many who were grieving his loss.